those who are under the protection of Krishna's internal potency. And so now we can chant the holy name with a great feeling, the feeling of determination, and making a sankalpa to surrender completely to Krishna, sweet surrender. And remembering that in just a few days, he'll be making his avirbhav here in this world. And of course, Krishna is always appearing in the hearts and on the tongues of those who are oriented towards seva. Priti seva. They love to do service to Krishna. They're always connected. So let's lean into our japa today and pray to Krishna that we can become more and more inspired by this Janmāṣṭamī festival that's upon us now. And before we start, I'm going to read one section from Srila Prabhupada's teachings on the chanting of Hare Krishna. This is from a letter to Terry and Associates, March 22nd, 1968. Let's hear what Prabhupada wrote to Terry and Associates. That's Terry. I am happy to hear that you continue to chant despite so many doubts and skepticism. That is the process. Even there may be doubts and skepticism. If one continues the chanting process, the doubts will all disappear and real knowledge will be revealed by the grace of Krishna. There is the example given of the jaundiced patient. He is suffering from disease, and when given sugar candy, which is the cure, he finds it very bitter and distasteful. But that does not mean the sugar candy is not very sweet and delicious. It is simply due to his diseased condition that it seems bitter. In order to be cured from his disease, he must take the medicine of sugar candy, despite the apparently bitter taste, and as he becomes cured, the real sweet taste of the candy is gradually revealed. Similarly, we are diseased, and only if we take this chanting process may we be cured. Maya may put so many doubts and worthless arguments into our minds, but if we continue the chanting, the curing process will go on. Never mind the doubts, and gradually we will get a taste of that sweet nectar of Krishna Nam Sankirtan. And now we'll begin with chanting the Panchatova Maha Mantra. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. So from the last purport, we heard that if someone is afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, then he or she can't taste the sweetness of the holy name. So Haridas Thakur says the antidote to this is, along with the chanting, one should have a regular supply of sambandha jnana, of hearing about the potency of the holy name and remembering our position. Noticed in the material world, everyone's trying to, those who are blinded by ignorance are as enthusiastic to convince people about the material way of life and how good it is and how you should keep trying, as devotees are convincing people that they should give it up. And if we don't hear from the acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and the words of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-Gita every day, then it's inevitable that somehow or other we're going to hear about from the optimistic materialists who say just try a little harder. Just like Jarasandha when he came and he was totally defeated by Krishna and Balaram. And his armies were slaughtered. Rivers of blood flowing. Every one of them annihilated. When he walked away, his ministers told him it was a fluke. So just try again. So the same thing happens from the lips of materialists. So we have to continually hear. And let's hear more from Srila Prabhupada's instructions about chanting the holy name. And this one is really long, so I'm going to divide it into a couple of parts. It's from the Nectar Devotion. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna. Actually, it's from the Nectar of Instruction, rather. The holy name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. Although the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya, ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet, it is wonderful that simply by carefully chanting these sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root. Purport. The holy name of Krishna, holy name of Lord Krishna, his quality, pastimes, and so forth, are all the nature of absolute truth, beauty, and bliss. Naturally, they are very sweet, like sugar candy, which appeals to everyone. Nescience, however, is compared to the disease called jaundice, which is caused by bilious secretions. Attacked by jaundice, the tongue of a diseased person cannot palatably relish sugar candy. Rather, a person with jaundice considers something sweet to taste very bitter. Avidya, ignorance, similarly perverts the ability to relish the transcendently palatable name, quality, form, and pastimes of Krishna. Despite this disease, if one with great care and attention takes to Krishna consciousness, chanting the holy name and hearing Krishna's transcendental pastimes, his ignorance will be destroyed and his tongue enabled to taste the sweetness of the transcendental nature of Krishna and his paraphernalia. Such a recovery of spiritual health is possible only by the regular cultivation of Krishna consciousness. When a man in the material world takes more interest in the materialistic way of life than in Krishna consciousness, he is considered to be in a diseased condition. The normal condition is to remain an eternal servant of the Lord. Jivara Sarupoi Krishnara Nityadas. This healthy condition is lost when the living entity forgets Krishna due to his being attracted by the external features of Krishna's Maya energy. This world of Maya is called Durashraya, which means false or bad shelter. One who puts his faith in Durashraya becomes a candidate for hoping against hope. In the material world, everyone is trying to become happy, and although their material attempts are baffled in every way, due to their nescience, they cannot understand their mistakes. People try to rectify one mistake by making another mistake. This is the way of the struggle for existence in the material world. If one in this condition is advised to take to Krishna consciousness and be happy, He does not accept such instructions. And now we'll just take a few reflections. Anything that you heard so far or realization from your japa that you'd like to share.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Shanat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, I had a reflection and a question. So, like, I really like the point from the purport you mentioned about determination and a regular cultivation of Krishna consciousness. And I was reminded of a person named David Goggins, who tried to get into Navy SEALs, but he was rejected because he was overweight. And within 3 months, he lost 106 pounds something, and he got recruited. So I was thinking, if at all we had the same determination and invest that in our devotional service, we could have gone miles ahead in our practice and our attachment to the holy name. And the question I had was, Lord Ram says in Ramayana that whoever comes to me and says just once that I'm yours, I take full responsibility for him and for the rest of his life. And at the same time, with this on one hand, and on the other hand, in Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto, we have descriptions of what kind of tribulations the child goes through inside the womb. And he literally prays to the Lord, to Krishna, that I'm going to surrender. So it looks like he surrenders inside the womb. Then how is it that the moment he comes out of the womb, he just forgets everything and starts enjoying the material world?
Kapila Dev explains the way that someone comes out of the womb and the senses which are internalized while one's in that position as a fetus then become externalized. The senses are embedded in their objects. And then one becomes impelled towards the external world. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song describes how I saw the face of my mother smiling at me, I saw my father. And then there's this ocean of Maya waiting for me and become overwhelmed. The prayers of someone who is saying, I want to surrender, are mentioned also in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Forced Material Enjoyment. Sometimes somebody comes to the point of saying, God, I want to surrender to you in a dangerous position, but later on, he or she then goes back into the material position and wavers back and forth. But when one gets the mercy of a Vaishnav and is able to take shelter, then the Lord gives special protection. And those devotees who come to Krishna, and Krishna gives them the association of Vaishnavas, just like we were talking about the importance of hearing Sambandha Gyan. It's vital that one have Vaishnava association. It's one of the 5 most important aspects of devotional service. Such a person who puts him or herself under the Vaishnavas and stays in service, then is always protected by the Lord. And in that verse, actually, that Lord Ramachandra utters, he said, I will protect him from fear. He'll never fear again. He'll become abhayam by my mercy. Radha Venkat Prabhu said, if I can know my real position, the rest is easy. The main thing is keep the main thing the main thing. Any other reflections on what we read or the japa?
Guru Maharaj, I just wanted to ask one more question based on Bhakta Rohit's comment. We are always taught that bhakti is a slow process. I remember you telling us it's about 40 years to getting to where you want to go if you're steady and you stay on it. And I was thinking that when we approach bhakti, we approach it with a tatyanukampam attitude, that we be patient, and despite all issues, we survive. But is there also another angle from which you look at it the way, like he's saying, with great focus and determination, I can achieve a lot in a short period of time?
you should consider that you've already achieved a lot in a short period of time. Labvam sudurlavam idam bahusam bhavante manusyamartadam anityam api hadira. That if you've come to the human form of body, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins this teaching to Sanatana Goswami by saying how rare it is for somebody to be a devotee. He says, because out of all human beings, Manusyanam Sahasreshu Kashid Yatati Siddhaye, there are very few that attain get even an interest in spiritual life. And out of those who are interested in spiritual life, there are very few that actually know who Krishna is. And then out of those, very few who become pure devotees. It's mentioned also by Rupa Goswami when he talks about the various gradations of devotees as well. So it's a rare position to be in association with devotees, and we should consider ourselves fortunate at every step, and we should also be hankering for more. So Rupa Goswami says that as soon as you take to the process of devotional service, even the neophyte is freed from distress. It begins a life of auspiciousness and is put into transcendental pleasure. So even at the very first step of devotional service, one's in a rarefied condition, but then it's unlimited. So one has two visions. One is that I feel very fortunate that I am where I am right now, but at the same time, I should be hankering that please let me advance and really become purified. Even the great souls, Raghunath Das Goswami is writing in his book about purifying the mind that, I see my mind is so devious. It just wants fame, and he's refining more and more and more. So the more somebody advances, Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, the more he or she feels that I'm not very advanced at all. And that's quite natural in any discipline, but especially devotional service, because as the Brihad Bhagavatamrita says, Dainya, or utter humility, is almost synonymous with prema. And the more you're approaching prema and becoming more and more attached to Krishna, the more you're feeling utter humility. So it's almost a contradictory situation. We'll just take one more and then we'll go back to japa, because we see the appearance of Nitai Kripa Prabhu, who's written in this reflection, during the japa I was appreciating how it's easier to taste the sweetness of chanting when in association of the pure devotees, Tulsi and the deities. Yes, and this is something that Prabhupada mentions, that one should chant before a Tulsi plant. There's a special power of being next to Tulsi. And so the point is that we should organize our japa. Don't do it haphazardly. Just pick up bead bag, walk out the door, drive down the street, one finger on the steering wheel, the other one the japa bag, listening to the radio, having a snack with the other hand. No, there's a point is to put oneself in a situation where your environment is favorable, so you're not disturbed and you can be fully concentrated. And this is one of the acts of devotion, and that is to put everything else out of the way for now. And how do you like it if you're talking to somebody or they're talking to you and they're doing something else at the same time, like looking at their phone? Personally, it drives me nuts. Everybody knows, whoever. They look at their phone and they go, okay, I'll talk to you another time. So Krishna may do that also if we're doing something else at the same time. I'll talk to you later. You come back when you're serious, sir, madam. So better if we preemptively put ourselves in a situation where we're serious in front of the pure devotee Tulsi and the association devotees. That's why we have this japa circle. Don't you think it's better? It makes it more, one's mind more accountable. It's like, oh, all the devotees are here. I better pay attention. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Radha Kripa Prabhu. And thank you, Nitai Kripa Prabhu. Okay, so let's do some more japa, remembering the rarity of the human form of life and that we've come to this position after millions and millions of lives in different species, and now we have the opportunity to use the human tongue to utter the names of Krishna, very intimate names. Gaur Premanande Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let's drink in a little bit more from Prabhupada's instructions on chanting the holy name. This Krishna consciousness movement is being spread all over the world just to remedy this gross ignorance. People in general are misled by blind leaders. The leaders of human society, the politicians, philosophers, and scientists, are blind because they are not Krishna conscious. According to Bhagavad-Gita, because they are bereft of all factual knowledge due to their atheistic way of life, they are actually sinful rascals and are the lowest among men. Namam duskrituna muda prapadyante naradhama maya ya pratagyana asuram bhavam ashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Such people never surrender to Krishna, and they oppose the endeavor of those who wish to take Krishna's shelter. When such atheists become leaders of society, the entire atmosphere is surcharged with nescience. In such a condition, people do not become very enthusiastic to receive this Krishna consciousness movement, just as a diseased person suffering from jaundice does not relish the taste of sugar candy. However, one must know that for jaundice, sugar candy is the only specific medicine. Similarly, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the only remedy for setting the world aright. Although Krishna consciousness may not be very palatable for a diseased person, Srila Rupa Goswami nevertheless advises that if one wants to be cured of the material disease, he must take to it with great care and attention. One begins his treatment by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra because by chanting this holy name of the Lord, a person in the material condition will be relieved from all misconceptions, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Avidya, a misconception about one's spiritual identity, provides the foundation for ahankar, or false ego within the heart. So you'll notice here that Krishna consciousness, the chanting Hare Krishna, is a remedy. And also, Prabhupada continues mentioning this metaphor by saying it's medicine. And you have to take the treatment, etc. So there's two sides. One is that the doctor gives the prescription and tells about the remedy. And the second is that the patient actually has to take it. And so going back to your question, Bhakti Rohit, Bhakti Rohit, that there's a way in which we can't misconstrue. Sometimes we can take a statement Krishna makes that, you say, one time you say, I surrender unto you. Then, okay, do some magic on me and make me do this. We're not dead stones, and we're also responsible for whatever situation we're in. Krishna says in the Gita, it's not me, it's your interaction with the material nature. And if there's medicine, it means there's also a person who's taking the medicine. So we also have to take responsibility that Krishna, important point is that there's nothing out of place in the way that Krishna gives us the medicine and also arranges for us to be in certain circumstances. That's a very wordy way of saying that Krishna is the perfect moral agent. And so implicit sometimes in my thoughts about, or statements, someone's statements about, why am I in this material world in the first place? There's a psychological point at which we think like, how could I be here? I didn't do anything. Or, why doesn't God fix it all? Why does he make me suffer? But there's a point at which I have to take responsibility. I'm suffering due to turning the wrong direction, and I have the power to turn around. That's why we have sadhana. And that's why we even talk about determination, because we can develop determination step by step by our own application of the process, because we're not dead stones. So Bharat Maharaj, he was very determined, but he got distracted. And the acharyas don't say it was Krishna's fault. He distracted him somehow with the deer. They put it on Bharat, and they say he foolishly became sentimental about the deer. So he was very advanced, but he became distracted. Why? It was his own fault, not Krishna's fault. Krishna's giving a full shelter to living entities when they want to take it. My problem is that I want to take it. That's one aspect that sometimes gets overlooked, especially when we see some statement by Krishna, he's extending himself, and they say, okay, go ahead, just take me back to Godhead. But even a Jamil, who got liberated by chanting the holy name one time, took the trouble after the Yamadutas, Vishnudutas left to go to Prayag and to do some extra work before he was picked up and went back to Godhead. That was his own choice, actually. So there's a sense of responsibility that has to be there also when Krishna gives Sarvadharman Parityaja, or his statement by Ramchandra, Kachadeva Prapano, yes, one time Prapano, you surrender unto me, then I save you from fear. So we also have to take it at the same time. So I've run out the clock, and that's good because we ran out of the clock. If anybody checks in on us at the end of our life and said, what were you doing from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the 8th of, what is this month anyway? August 2020. I know that much. We can say, I know where I was. I have an alibi. I was there chanting with the devotees, and we have a videotape of it. So at least we got that. Hare Krishna. We'll see you in about 20 minutes. Not about, exactly 20 minutes after 8 o'clock. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Mantra Kalpadurvasha, Kripasinave, Vachapatitanam, Pavanibhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha, Nantakodi Vaishnavini ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Janmāṣṭamī ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, devotees. You can stay on this Zoom call till our next program.
Thank you, Manisha.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Vanchakabdurvascha kripasinabhevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We'll begin with welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining back. Let's begin with some chanting. I'm switching over to Jamulus in about 2 seconds. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srivatsa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Avantika.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Manisha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is anybody else on?
Nope.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Praja Janaranjana Shulatira Manachari Jamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Nam Sarva Dharmasa
Hridaya Krishna Nam Sarva Dharmasa
Nariya Gotrume Nityananda Mahajan Nitai Gaur Haribo Haribo Haribol Nitai Gaur Haribol Jai Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Premanande Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Shri Harinam Mahamantra Ki Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Gaura Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo Haribol Nitai Gaura Haribol We'll do the Mangalacharna 2, please. Staying on Jambulas here. Om. Avantika, give me a note, please. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunidhitam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Together, please. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Adadanas Danteritam Janche Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Junisyam Janma Janmani Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sadvatutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Nama Shreshtam Manamapi Shachiputra Matra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Urupari Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tannatosmi Hey Guru Jnanada Dina Bandho Swananda Data Korunaika Sindho Vrindavana Sina Hitabata Siddharada Pranaya Prachara Hey Dina Bandho Korunaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Maimanda Mudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahupapagate Tada Padme Sumatisha Krishne Prata Shriman Davatvipe Dvinetram Dvibhujangurum Varabhaya Pradam Shantam Smaritanama Purvakam Tvam Gomika Visharave Stanayanti Kesi Sevari Karani Guru Nijapada Padme Dasyam Pradaya Kurumam Brajakanane Shri Radhangri Sevana Rase Sukhinim Sukhabdao Shri Guru Paramananda Premananda Pavatra Rajananda Pradhananda Sivayam Yojaya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhana Videvi Dayataya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Ne Prabhave Namaha Madhuryojvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhava Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaurakishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakchirananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Ruga Varayate Gaura Viravava Bhome Stam Nirdeshja Sajjanam Priya Vaishnava Sarva Bhoma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha Panchatatvatpakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarvasva Padambo Chao Radha Marana Mohana Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastau Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Krishna Sevamana Smarani Shriman Rasarasaram Bhivam Shiva Tatatastita Karshan Vedu Swanir Gopir Gopinatha Shri Esuna 18 Thakur Godeyaki Karyachanya Atmasa 18 Era Charan Vandon Tine Morna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranami Hari Priye Vande Nanda Vajastrinam Padarinum Apikshnashaha Yasam Hari Katogitam Bhavanatrayam Antaya Madhur Abala Harita Savaryo Yad Ramakrishna Charanaspara Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayo Sayo Yat Paniya Suyavasakanna Kanna Mulai Vrindayai Tulsidevyai Priyayai Keshavascha Vishnu Bhakti Pare Devi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Shri Narsingha Jai Narsingha Jai Jai Narsingha Pralada Desha Jaya Padma Padma Bringa Yada Yada Hitarmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Apyutanam Vatarmasya Tadatmanam Srajanyaham Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chatushkritam Tanamasam Stapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Manmana Pavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mami Vaishyasi Yutvaiva Namaparayana Sarvadharman Pratyaja Mamekam Sharam Braja Aham Tam Sarva Papepyo Mokshayishami Mashashaha Shushusho Shritanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syad Mahat Sevaya Vipra Tirtan Shevana Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyantaksto Himadrani Vidnoti Subritsatam Nashtaprayeshu Padreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad-Gita Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishriki Tadarajastamo Bhava Kamalobha Dayashye Chaita Ater Anavirham Sthitam Sattve Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaya Grantish Chijante Sarva Samshaya Shyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Eva Manishvare Malihai Karishe Bijarupa Shravana Kirtananjali Karishe Chan Tan Vistarita Hoy Pali Prema Pala Ihan Mali Shechi Nitya Shravanadi Jal Vairagya Vijanicha Bhakti Yoga Shikshartameka Purusha Purana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dhari Kritpamudir Yasta Aham Prapadye Kala Nashtam Bhakti Yoga Nijamja Pradushkartam Krishna Chaitanya Nama Avarabhutas Tasya Padada Vinde Gatam Gatam Niyatam Chitta Bringa Ajarulambata Bajao Kanakavadatao Sankirtanaika Pitarao Kamalaya Dashao Vishwambarao Dvijavarao Yugatar Mapalo Vande Jagat Priyakarao Karunavataro Chaitanya Krishna Chaitanya Gaurango Dvijanayaka Yatinam Dandinam Chaiva Yasinam Chasharomani Raknam Baradara Shrima Navadvipa Sudakara Prema Bhakti Pradashchaiva Shishachi Nandanastata Nityananda Vidurtendur Vasuda Prana Pallava Chalavi Jivitapati Krishna Prema Pradaprabhu Padmavati Sutta Shriman Shachinandana Purvaja Vadmon Mattoja Jagatrata Rakagora Kalevara Matsumo Nasti Papa Manaparadi Chikashana Parihare Vilajame Kikuve Shukhtama Yuvatinam Yatha Yuni Yunam Cha Yuvatau Yatha Mano Viramate Tadman Maniramatam Tvayi Umauskalita Padanam Bhumir Eva Valambanam Tvayi Jata Radhanam Tvameva Sharanam Prabho Govinda Balaviradhe Prarte Tvamaham Sada Tvaliyam Iti Janatu Govindo Mam Tvaya Saha Radhe Vrindavanadi She Karunamritavahani Kripaya Nijapadam Cha Dasyam Mayam Pradyatam Nitai Namine Che Namirhate Shadamyanam Dite Che Namine Che Namirhate Shadamyanam Dite Che Nitai Namine Che Namirhate Shadamyanam Dite Che Nitai has brought the divine name to the marketplace, the holy name. Nitai namine che nam nirhate shatam yenam dite che. And he is giving away that name for the mere price of your faith. Oh. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Can I share my screen? May I share my screen, I should say, as at the present moment I can't share my screen. Thank you. This excellent presentation is brought to you by the great skill of our very own Sriman Anshu Prabhu. Let's give him a hand. Hare Krishna. Who knew such talent? We're just seeing a little bit leaking out, but soon all of this talent pool is going to be unleashed upon the world, causing a wave of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So, this TOVP building, as we could see rendered here, is an example of how the desire of a pure devotee becomes manifest to the outside world. The Krishna consciousness movement really is a manifestation of the heart of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever is in the heart eventually becomes manifest outwardly. For instance, if somebody is full of tamogun in his or her heart, then eventually he or she's going to get angry and say some nasty words to somebody that will be degrading for both the speaker and the listener. However, if somebody is in the mode of passion or goodness, then such manifestations that match those modes will come out. And in the heart of one who has unalloyed devotional service, then the transcendence, the manifestation of Krishna comes out to the world. Only the pure devotees reveal Krishna in this world. Bhavadvita bhagavatas tirtha bhuta swayam vibho tirtha kurvanti tirtani swantakstena gadavrata. Krishna is within the heart of everybody, but he's in the hearts of the pure devotees especially because they are very dear to him and he is dear to them. And therefore, wherever they go, they're able to manifest Krishna because they have love for Krishna in their hearts. So devotees of the Lord, who, especially those who are preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world, are able to manifest these kinds of temples. But that's not the most amazing thing. As Prabhupada said, the most amazing was that he was able to instill in the hearts of those who had previously been averse to any rules and regulations in life, who had no conception of God, or who did have conceptions of God, but they were lacking. He was able to install Krishna within their hearts, and then they became enthusiastic. So every living being has volition, but when somebody's in the diseased condition of life, that volition is wasted. It gets put into building skyscrapers that get filled up with Rajogun and Tamagun, nary a molecule of Sattvagun in these places. And people go about raising families, becoming kings, designing amazing machines, but unless they're connected to Krishna, it's for naught. And the pure devotee has no other ambition or purpose other than to share Krishna with the world, to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity, so these manifestations come out. So purpose. Let's look at the word for a second. The word purpose, intention, aim, goal, from Anglo-French, purpose, Old French, aim, intention. So living entities are not dead stones, and they have ambitions and they have intentions. Intend has the meaning to reach out. Tend means to stretch. And then we look further here. Per means it's related to the Latin pro, before, and pose means to suggest something, suppose, assume, concede, to position something, to suggest. So propose means to put forward what's in one's heart. You propose something. You say, "This is what my ambition is. This is what I'd like to do, and I'm putting it forward." I'm putting it forward. My intention. So that word is important, obviously, in looking through this presentation on the 7 purposes of Iskcon, which is what we're about to do. And oftentimes in Krishna consciousness, we'll find that the purpose may not be immediately realized. Srila Prabhupada had decided what he wanted to do. If you look through the early writings of Srila Prabhupada, before he had started any movement, he had started it actually because he was writing it down on paper. He had an elaborate scheme through which millions of people would get trained as high-class people. He would take people from all different sections of the society and systematically raise them through training to a higher position of life, into the Brahminical stage of life. Isn't that amazing? He was thinking about it, writing it down. So purpose means to put forward your intention. In the first place that Prabhupada put it forward was on paper. He was scheming, he was designing. Even so, we might find when we're putting forward our ideas, when we're proposing something, that it may not go anywhere at first, especially if you just bring it up to somebody in the hallway and say, hey, what do you think? But if you write it down and you're systematic about presenting it and trying different ways, then eventually Krishna makes a slot that you can drop that idea in. So Prabhupada didn't know where it was going to come from. Later on, when he was speaking on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disappearance day, he said, who knew this would happen? Who knew we would meet? I mean, who knew that he would come to New York and he would meet devotees, future devotees on the street or in the park, or that they would go to London, meet the Beatles. Who knew all these things? Krishna knew, because he says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishani chabutani mam tu vedana kaschana, that I know everything. And he oftentimes puts together our plan before we know he's putting it together. And he does it in ways that we can't even imagine. So oftentimes when we propose something to Krishna, an idea that I'd like to do this for you, we have to wait and see what is Krishna's plan. But we still have to remain determined and keep trying. Goodness. So let's look at the 7 purposes of Iskcon as Prabhupada proposed them. Of course, back to this beautiful picture of matchless gifts, and the train of thought I was in was that often things start in a humble way. From the plan on paper, they start manifesting in simple ways. Prabhupada was desperate in New York to get a place to stay. In fact, he had a loft and he was staying with one person who ended up being crazy and trying to kill Prabhupada. And Prabhupada left that loft and ended up at the house of Mukunda and Janaki, or at the apartment. He had Prabhupada's assistant had let Michael, at the time his name was Michael, know that Prabhupada was in need and wanted to come over. And of course, when somebody calls you when you weren't ready for it, you might think, oh, my house isn't in very good order, and so forth. And when he answered the phone, Prabhupada's assistant, another devotee, a fledgling follower, said, oh yeah, he's right downstairs. They were on a payphone. And Michael and his wife were shocked. And he said, we'll be right up. So they came up and the television was on playing cartoons and the house was a bit of a mess. And Prabhupada came in and Prabhupada's assistant expressed what his need was, that he needed a place. And so just from that, Michael said, I'll see what I can do. And he got together with a couple of others who were enthusiasts about the Swami's presence in New York. And they found this place on 26 2nd Avenue. It's still there. The building is still there. Iskcon is still in that building. And Prabhupada moved into that small storefront. It turned out that there was an apartment in the back, and he took that also. And the purpose was starting to manifest, and that was really to plant his flag here in America. And now, of course, somebody might look at this stage and say, now, what have you really done? You just have a little apartment, and you have a tiny storefront, and a bunch of grungy-looking people who are coming around. They can't be Vaishnavas. In fact, some of Prabhupada's godbrothers did take this attitude. They didn't want to help, and they also criticized, and they said these people cannot become Vaishnavas, they can't take Brahminical initiation and so forth. So even as Prabhupada's purpose is manifesting, he's getting this storefront. We can see into the future here on the right-hand side. Prabhupada desired, as we'll see, to put out books because his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, had given him a specific instruction. That was at Radhakund. It was not too long before his guru had left the world. Prabhupada asked, "How can I serve you?" He was in a situation where he had to take care of family members, and there were lots of sannyasis and brahmacharis around his Guru Maharaj at that time, very close at hand. And Prabhupada wanted to know, what can I do to serve you? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta revealed to him that although we have this big marble temple in Bagh Bazar, I'm sensing that the devotees are becoming quarrelsome and that they're fighting over which room, who gets which room. A spirit of entitlement and perhaps even a spirit of enjoyment was creeping in. Almost the same thing, entitlement and enjoyment. And so he said, there's going to be a fire in the month, meaning that there would be difficulty. So he said, if I had my choice, I'd take the marble from the temples, I'd sell it, and I'd print some books. So he told his disciple, Abhay Charan Aravinda, that if you ever get money, you print books. And Prabhupada took that to his heart. He said later on, I took it from my Guru Maharaj's mouth that he is very fond of books. And you'll notice throughout his life, he kept this, and we'll see in the 7 purposes of Iskcon, as one of the themes of literature, printing books, and so forth. So we go from this tiny apartment. At that time, there was a volume or several volumes of the first canto that Prabhupada would read from, and also his manuscript from Bhagavad-Gita he would lecture on. But later here we already have the 5th canto you see on the right-hand side, and Prabhupada is going through it, appreciating it. And so step by step, when one expresses one's purpose to Krishna, writes it down, and then goes through all the pains to enact it, then gradually something wonderful can happen. For the devotee, it's wonderful to be able to offer something to Krishna that's tangible, that manifests the words of his or her spiritual master. So here's a lotus of purposes. Prabhupada gave these ideas to propagate spiritual knowledge, to propagate Krishna consciousness of Krishna, to bring the society nearer to Krishna, to encourage the Sankirtan movement, to erect the holy places of Lord Krishna's pastimes, teaching a simpler way of life, and distribution of spiritual books. And let's look at them in a list. So purpose 1 was to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and achieve unity and peace in the world. Again, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. I just want to look for a minute at the meaning of the word propagate, which we'll see here, because he uses it throughout. And propagate means to cause to multiply, from Latin, propagatus. Set forward, extend, spread, increase, multiply plants by layers, breed. So, this is the propagatus. And see pro, second element, prog, to fasten. That's a word forming element meaning forward, toward the front, pro, and pag, from propagate, means to fasten and to increase. So there's a way in which this word propagate is a very active word, means to go forward, go forward. You have to go for it. And you also have to increase the numbers, to breed, to try to expand it. This is really what it means. And then the word systematically is important also. To be systematic means it's not a hobby. You're not doing it just casually, but you really take it seriously and find out how to systematize everything that you do. And what are we systematically propagating? What was Prabhupada's idea? Spiritual knowledge. And his Guru Maharaj told him that there's only one thing lacking in the world, and that is Krishna consciousness. Nothing else lacking. So how far does he want to go in the mission statement here for propagating to society at large? And all people are included. Educate all people, society at large and all people, in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance. There's so much in this, but think about techniques of spiritual life. Oftentimes people take spiritual life as something amorphous, wispy, can do whatever you want, as long as it feels good, do it. They take it that if there's anything systematic or that can be articulated as a technique, it may not be spiritual. But actually, the Goswamis of Vrindavan are mentioned, Nana Shastra Vichara Naika Nipunos, Sadharma Samstapako. They very carefully and systematically created a culture through which people could learn the techniques of spiritual life. For instance, in the Nectar of Instruction, it's a step-by-step guide to how to enact spiritual life. And then he gives the reason why, in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. Now, I want you to just imagine for a minute where Prabhupada was when he was writing this and what kind of attention he was giving to this. All of you know who have written goals or mission statements that it takes a lot of thought. You write something, you walk away, then you get another idea, you come back to it. You go over it again and again. Does it encompass all of the ideas that I want in this, to express my purpose, what I want to do for Krishna? And you see in this statement, it's so powerful. When you condense, when you wordsmith based on your desire to serve Krishna, as Prabhupada has done here, he's given great consideration for the exact wording. I had written this on a card, which I still have, and this is what I used to show people when I'd ask for a donation. And I'd say, so we ask for a donation for these books we're distributing, and here's why. And this is what we do with the money. And I'd hand them this card, and then we'd read it. I'd read it aloud to them. And I say, we're asking for donations because this is our goal, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. And people just love it. And I'm sorry I'm just mentioning this now, we're remembering it, but it's a really good idea to try this when you're spreading Krishna consciousness. You can memorize it, or you can have it printed on cards, professionally printed, and hand it to people and say, this is what we're doing. Could even do it first as you're presenting the book and say, these books are meant to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge, and etc. And it's a mantra that has been well thought out. It's sprung from the heart of Srila Prabhupada, and therefore when you say it to people, they go back on their heels. They swoon. They want to help immediately. They become spontaneously attracted to helping and spreading the Krishna consciousness movement right along with you. So now, before we go to the next couple of purposes, as if this wasn't enough, there's 6 more. Let's take some reflections or some questions to expand the conversation, if we might.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, sorry, I just wanted to, like the microphone is not coming from your the external one. So
Why didn't anybody tell me till now? Is it better now? What? You can't hear me? Is that what you're saying?
We can hear you loud and clear.
We can hear you, but it I think it's taking from your laptop, not from the external microphone.
Really? From my laptop?
But it.
No,
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, we can hear Maharaj fine.
Okay.
So Maharaj, I have a question. You were saying Prabhupada wrote all this. Did he write it in India or did he write it here after coming to the US?
He wrote it in India.
Okay.
Is that better, Mukharavind? I just put it on my road.
Yes, Maharaj, now it's much better.
Thank you very much. He has a refined ear, Mukharavinda. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. And thanks for letting me know.
So, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
So, Maharaj, I was really admiring the purpose, the word systematic. Because one of the things that struck me when I first saw you giving a presentation online, I had not even met you, but you were giving a presentation on book distribution in Los Angeles. And when I heard that presentation, I was like, oh my goodness, it is so systematic, everything, laid out nicely. And so you had kind of, carried forward Prabhupada's instructions on, because normally people don't take any of the religious or spiritual activities the way we would take something at our office, right? Like have a mission statement, have plans and purpose and things like that. So I really wanted to thank you for bringing such a nice structure to book distribution. And just take the 4 laws. They're almost like the universal laws of book distribution. They always work like that. So I just wanted to point out and thank you and Prabhupada both, for making it so systematic.
Well, what I can say about that is that you're one of the most systematic people I've ever met. And I'm happy that you were there at that lecture that day that attracted your mind. Because it's simultaneous, I was praying, please send somebody to help me systematize everything. And then you happen to walk through the door at ISV and things have never been the same. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do 24/7. I'm not sure if you ever sleep. What else do we have? There's a lot here, right? Vaikuntha Nayaka, Prabhu? It's powerful hearing Prabhupada's intentions written down in his own language and
Definitely.
You're feeling it all the way down there, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I was remembering this quote. I don't know who said it, maybe Bhakti Swami or I don't know who, but I remember the quote. It was like he was saying, the quote is something, paraphrasing it, it was something in that like, I don't want to be labeled a Prakritiya Sahajiya, but if a tear does not roll out after hearing about Prabhupada's struggles, then the heart is really made of stone, right? So I was just thinking how much actually Srila Prabhupada went through in the initial days. He could just have stayed blissfully in Vrindavan, in Radha Damodar temple, but what kind of austerities he took, right? Even today, I could not imagine actually staying with someone who eats meat, right? I could not imagine sharing my refrigerator with a person, but Prabhupada was actually 3-4 generations before me, and he had such higher standards than that of me, but yet he actually chose to come down to that level out of his immense mercy to give out this knowledge to the world. So yes, definitely, Manoj.
There's a conversation from 1967. You'll hear on the lectures or in the conversations Prabhupada's having with a woman who is coming, obviously, and listening carefully, and she takes a lot of notes, asks a lot of questions. And Prabhupada was saying about how I'd rather be in Vrindavan. That's my home, he was saying. But I've come here because it's the order of my spiritual master to come and help you. And for Prabhupada and those in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this mood of sacrifice to go out from one's home, where the home for the Vaishnava really means Vrindavan or Mayapur or Puri, where one feels snug in one's bhajan with Krishna, but it's a higher taste to go out and make some kind of sacrifice in order to help other people. And that's really the mood of propagate. You have to be proactive. You really have to go after it and go out into the world for it. Go ahead. Who is next? Thank you very much. That was very powerful, Vaikuntha Nayaka. Especially the part where you were appreciating Prabhupada's suffering. And but the thought I had when you said that was, for the devotee, it's such a pleasure to suffer. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, whatever trouble I take to execute the order of my Guru Maharaj, that's my actual happiness. Because trouble's going to be there anyway. It just comes knocking at the door when you're not, you get comfortable and then knock, knock, knock. Hey, guess what? Your life is ruined. So, better to preemptively disturb one's own life for the sake of the Guru and stay in that position, as that's actual happiness. It's very, very interesting.
Yes, Maharaj. Actually, since you mentioned that, I was remembering whenever I heard a no in book distribution, right? I thought that these were the no's that are getting removed from my life, which I anyway would have otherwise heard from my boss, from my whoever. And those no's are getting removed by every
now,
time.
Come on, write that down. Malini, write it down. Make sure you write that one down. We're going to use that in all our seminars from now on, because it's one of the frequently asked questions and a great fear that people have. What if somebody rejects me and say, you're just removing all the foundational subtle aspect of rejection in the universe gets removed by being rejected for Krishna. This is beautiful. Very nicely done. Okay. Anybody else really want to jump in, or you want me to go back to the slides?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Devavrata.
I like that point you just made. Preemptively disturb one's life before life disturbs you. Just make the sacrifice, go through the struggles, and find bliss in that struggle, and find bliss in those struggles, rather than waiting for the struggles to come and disturb you.
Yeah, it's if you preemptively give up material desires, then there's no death. Die to live. So death comes knocking at your door, says, I can't. Death is that little call that comes, said, I came to take everything away. And then you're there saying, sorry, I already gave it away. I can't help you. So really the devotees die to live. And they die by surrendering their conception. It's a false conception, the false ego, ahankara, that I'm doing something. I'm the doer. Or these are my things. I don't have any things. I only have Krishna's things. I'm renting everything out, so I got to keep it clean, and I got to use it in His service. And when death comes and says, "Give it," it's like, I already gave it. I gave it the office. Can't help you. Thanks, Devavrata. Very good point, as usual. Okay, let's go back, because I'm noticing I'm chewing up the clock really fast here. We're going back to present mode. And here we have purpose number 2. To propagate, again the word comes up, a Krishna conscious, I'll start over, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Clear and concise, very simple. Again, it's active and it goes to consciousness. So this is unassailable. We're not converting people to a religion, but we're propagating a consciousness, because the living being is made of consciousness, chitkana. And it can be the living entity exposed to various levels of consciousness, and the topmost of all of them is Krishna consciousness. This is a presentation that anyone can appreciate as being not only non-sectarian, but also achievable. And then how will it be substantiated? Through the revealed scriptures. It will be revealed by Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. These are the authorities. So this is a movement, Prabhupada said, based on Shastra. It's based on these books, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-Gita. And this is the strongest foundation that one could have for a movement, is to have a founding document. Just like the United States of America is based on the Constitution, and that was based on the Magna Carta, in which people got together and they decided these will be the values and the ways that we'll express these values. And because there was a clear document underlying their movement, which became this United States, there's been a way, despite the helter-skelter nature of the democracy that's here, to continually come back to the standard document. Of course, it's a mundane example because that's basically a concocted document. However, these are apaurushaya. They're not from a human origin. They're transcendental. So how much more one could base a movement on a document when it is coming from an infallible source, and we can depend on that. And Prabhupada always did. When he was giving talks, in his room especially, and scientists, other kinds of intellectuals would come, professors, Prabhupada would oftentimes say to his assistants who were sitting, listening, find out that verse. Prabhupada knew the verse, of course, but he wanted to show that what he was saying was coming from the Bhagavad-Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. So when he would make a point to one of these personalities, he would say, find out that verse. And then he would point to the actual Sanskrit. This is where it comes from. This is the foundation. So he was propagating this philosophy, and then when it came to substantiating where it came from, he would say Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And if we stand on this principle of basing everything we say on these shastras, then our presentation will be effective, otherwise not. Shruti Smriti Pranadi Panchatriki Vidimbina Aikantiki Hare Bhaktiru Patayaiva Kalpate. If you don't base your propagation or your practice on the shastras, then you just create a disturbance for all the other devotees because you're not situated properly. So this is how our Krishna conscious movement is situated in Shastra. The next purpose, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead Krishna. This theme will come up again. And which theme? To bring the members of the society together. Prabhupada had this intention that he wanted everyone to do it together, to cooperate. And in Rabindra Sarup Prabhu's monograph, he had written, salvation for a Gaudiya Vaishnav means socialization into this highest society, being accepted, for example, into the company of the 6 Goswamis, or into the circle of gopis who may serve Rati Manjari or Lalita Sakhi. Damnation is the opposite, isolation and exclusion. We self-alienated, non-cooperative living entities, living here in exile, isolated in solitary confinement by the impervious walls of our egoism, are always summoned to return as fully integrated members of that transcendent society. Come on, that was a beautiful verse. Anshu, what do you think? That last sentence, what did you think of it?
Yes, Maharaj, I thought it was
packed. Packed full, isn't it? I'm going to read it to you again. Are you ready? Damnation is the opposite, isolation and exclusion. We, self-alienated, non-cooperative living entities, living here in exile, isolated in solitary confinement by the impervious walls of our egoism, are always summoned to return as fully integrated members of that transcendent society. And Bhakti Yoga is the practice. This is Rabindra Sarup writing, and Prabhu. And Bhakti Yoga is the practice by which we become fit to rejoin it. By bhakti, we become increasingly integrated into the divine society, closer to Krishna and closer to his associates. And at the same time, we try to bring others with us. And this is the highest yoga. Srila Prabhupada said in 1968, San Francisco, quote, "If you push on this movement of Krishna consciousness, then you'll be performing the highest type of yoga. Don't be misled by so-called yogas. This is yoga. Yoga means cooperation, cooperation with the Supreme." This is sublime, isn't it? Isn't this music to your ears, everybody? Because you're pushing. We're pushing together to spread the movement. The Madhava Govinda Prabhu, he was so intent on getting back to his service here. He did a long route all the way going through Canada and now coming back to the United States whenever he can. And, just somehow or other to stay within the Sangha of those who are pushing and propagating. And Prabhupada says right here, if you push on this movement of Krishna consciousness, then you'll be performing the highest type of yoga. We call book distribution, for instance, high sadhana. It is. And so this cooperation and coming closer to the society and being reintegrated, this is one of the purposes of Iskcon. The spiritual world is not just homogeneous oneness. It's a society. There's a hierarchy there. There are relationships and all centered around Krishna. But we have to learn how to live in that society again. And even as we're getting ready to go back to Godhead, those who learn the lessons of how to live in a society, for instance, you can't be successful in a society if you don't cooperate. And I can guarantee you, or at least my realization is, that cooperation is the greatest of all austerities, especially when it comes to working with others. Because, everyone has their own separate idea, and what to speak of svabhava, in this lifetime, we all have various samskars, and one samskar doesn't naturally mix with somebody else's samskar or idea of how to do things. But you have to tolerate that and learn how we can work together. Of course, the spiritual world, there's no material samskars, but they're all different personalities. And the sublimity of this movement is, and of Prabhupada's systematic approach to it, was to bring everybody back to that idea of working together. To bring the members of the society together. Am I sharing or not?
No.
I'm not. Okay, sorry. Just now I am only. To bring the members of society together This is important. With each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, and thus develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead Krishna. So within this, there's also the element of personalism, because Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarni, Prabhupada specifically came westward where there was all this impersonalism and voidism. People really don't know what they're talking about, but they're already contaminated by somebody they thought did know what they were talking about, and they didn't. And so they had all these impersonal conceptions, and Prabhupada wanted to show through the cooperation of all the devotees and the distribution of knowledge that each soul is part and parcel of Krishna. We're not God, but we're part of God. Let's take a couple of reflections, because this is really a nice section here. And let's hear any thoughts that you have, realizations to amplify this section.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Uh,
Madhava Govinda. We were just talking about you a second ago.
Thank you. I was actually just remembering, I was reading the Ocean of Mercy book by Bhakti Maharaj. In that, in the very last section, Maharaj was writing that how when Prabhupada was in his final days, one devotee approached Prabhupada and he said that, Prabhupada, I'm ready to die for you. Prabhupada appreciated the sentiment. He said, that's very nice. And then he said that if you really want to show your love for me, you should cooperate. So, I mean, Prabhupada actually felt that cooperating with within the movement was much more important than actually giving up the body for the spiritual master. I was just appreciating how Prabhupada kept that as a high.
Thank you for the citation. And actually, cooperation is a kind of death, because really we're always dying to the ego, that I should be first, I should be the center, I get credit for this. And when you cooperate, you give other people credit. You have to. And those who can cooperate more are more successful in systematically spreading Krishna consciousness, because you can't do it alone. You have to do it with others. And it's very subtle. But when the members of the team actually genuinely develop Krishna consciousness and are able to let go of their own sense that I have to be the one who gets credit for all this, and it's not about me, it's about us together, then it becomes successful. And that's a kind of death, when I'm able to relinquish my stake in it. I have to plant my flag and said, this is me here. So that's an excellent point, Madhava Govinda. Thank you very much. What else? I could see others getting ready to launch some realizations. Oh, yes, please go ahead.
I was just on this point of cooperation. You know, like you said, big austerity. If you feel like the aim cooperating means, you know, the aim or the vision of the center perhaps are active, more focused on like perhaps business, making money, collecting funds, and the preaching is kind of limited. How much cooperation, how far down the road does cooperation mean to sacrifice the preaching over supporting business or like things like that? I'm just curious about that. But sometimes, or if the vision of the center is not leadership, but the preaching is something, or business. How much cooperation?
Thank you. Kautakarnika Prabhu, did you understand what he said?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I did not get the complete thing, but as far as I understand, Prabhu is asking how much cooperation can we do if we have to balance preaching and the family life? How much cooperation can we do? So we have our responsibility for preaching, and we have cooperation at home in family life. How do we balance that? That's what my understanding is, but Prabhu can correct me.
Was that something close
Can
to
you
what you
hear me?
said?
No, I was saying, like, if the vision of the leadership that you're under is more, seems to be more towards like business or fabulous beauty worship, but the preaching seems to be undermined or not, but less participation in the preaching. And you're, from what you understand, is that the preaching is the first and foremost, the book distribution, like that. Then how much cooperation do you do? That was my kind of question. Does cooperation mean that you stay home and or stay in the structure of the organization and support the business aspect or the beauty worship aspect as opposed to what seems to be the most important?
Was that a question?
I was just thinking, Maharaj, that that Madha Mahotsav Prabhu can use our excellent question and answer system to.
Yeah, why don't you write it out succinctly? Because we could hear, at least I could hear only about 43% of what you said. Somehow the microphone there is not catching everything. But I know it's something very important, so I hope that you would just write a few sentences and then we'll attend to it. Okay, let's take one more reflection before we go on to the next ones. Malini.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I was just thinking how the three purposes of Iskcon we have read so far, they are in a way directly related to book distribution. Because every time we distribute books or try to distribute books, and some people end up not taking the books, but we ask them to touch the books so that we wanted them to bring closer to Krishna one step at a time. So I was just appreciating how we could learn so much, including the purposes that Srila Prabhupada wanted, and it is all available for us to experience live when we go out on Sankirtan. So
Experience live when we go on Sankirtan. Yes, I like that very much. We get the experience of what Prabhupada felt when he was going out into the great unknown to fulfill Krishna's desire, his guru's desire. And also we get that personal experience of having contact with people and what it feels like to give them contact with Krishna. Thank you, Malini, very much. And since you reminded me, I've only done only a few so far. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, good. Number 4, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Again, another powerful word, encourage, comes from the word cor, a French word which means the heart. And to encourage people is one of the main aspects of surviving in this world, because the environment of the material world is enervating. It's always taking away our energy and discouraging us, especially when we have a material conception of life. It seems hopeless. And the only way to ultimately encourage anybody is to introduce them to Sankirtan and say, here's the way to align yourself with Krishna, with your higher nature. And so teaching and encouraging is necessary. You can teach, but you also will notice you have to encourage. People have questions about how can I survive? How can I get out of depression? How can I cooperate with my family members? And these types of things. And people feel depressed. People can't control their senses. So you have to encourage, and also at the same time teach. And what are we teaching? Sankirtan. And what is it? A movement. It's a Sankirtan movement. And if it's going to be a movement, somebody's got to move. And that movement means congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. And that was interpreted widely by Srila Prabhupada as also distributing books, speaking about Krishna. That's also kirtan. And especially congregational chanting is very powerful. But the emphasis is on the word congregational, bringing people together for this. And again, as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Very concise and powerful. And the next is to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. So this is one of the ways Prabhupada was very active always. As soon as he was able to start getting financial help, he had ideas about getting a Western house in India so the devotees could come. The first thing he put up there in Mayapur was that long building so that the devotees could come and stay. And he wanted to accommodate. You have to accommodate people so they have a place to stay. And also New Vrindavan, this idea of having a place with all these temples, where if you go nowadays, you'll notice busloads of people come. And they don't, they're from this rural area, some of them. They've never seen Krishna, heard of Krishna, but they heard there's a golden palace there, and they come, as an example, to New Vrindavan. And once they go there, they're able to feel something. And I saw it also in Hungary at Krishna Volgi, the farm. There's thousands of people come every day to that on buses to see that project that Shivaram Maharaj and his devotees have developed, where there's farming and cows, and then a beautiful temple with Sri Sri Radhashama Sundar. And they actually set up seats in the temple room, theater style. So when the buses come, they sit in front of the deities and then they hear about them. And then there's a little fan over on the side. You just pull the cord and it fans the deities with a peacock fan. So they all line up and they get to fan the deities. So Prabhupada always had these visions. And now there's the Govardhaniko village. If people go there, they'll see a replica of Vrindavan. So he wanted to erect for the members and for society at large, always putting this clause in there, and for society at large, always propagating a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. And then purpose 6, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. It was one of Prabhupada's main purposes, to show that you don't need a lot. You don't need the big Ugra Karma buildings and motorways and oil to run all these things. But if you have some cows and you have some land and you grow some trees and you have some vegetables and you offer them to Krishna, you can live happily. I mean, look how happy the cows look there, and the devotees too. And my experience recently, being locked down here just in my garden and growing a few things, as amateur as I am, and growing, I feel like it's the Rag Marg, really. I get in ecstasy picking peaches. I'm thinking, Krishna's so kind, Krishna's so kind. Look how many he gave. And my heart just opens. And so Prabhupada wanted everyone to have this experience of a simpler, more natural way of life, because it's something that the world's forgotten, and they've got turned around, think that real happiness means to be in the city. People are being slaughtered in the city. Yesterday I was on my walk and I saw a group of young people in the park, and they were standing in the park and they were all looking at their phones. They're looking at their cell phones, absorbed, entranced, addicted. And so the whole world's distracted. And Prabhupada's so merciful. He thought, yes, along with all this, there will be a place that people can repair to, where they'll see this simpler, more natural way of life. And you can directly worship, you can directly realize Krishna on a farm. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to do anything but just go there. And when you see cows, you become Krishna conscious. Because Prabhupada said it defies human reason to understand how, by being around the cows, human beings become elevated to higher consciousness. But it's just a fact. And look at that brown cow. Look at the look on her face. It's so beautiful. And finally, the seventh purpose, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. I didn't miss this when I was doing my seminar, because I realized, oh, Prabhupada had all these purposes, and with a view towards achieving them, we would publish and distribute books and periodicals. That's a strong endorsement for book distribution, isn't it? Yes. And so it's such a neat package. The purposes all together, and then how the aforementioned purposes would be achieved, becomes very important. So if we can become acquainted with these purposes, perhaps keep them more visible in our lives, and look at them regularly and remember some of the main points and some of the words, the terminologies Prabhupada used, will be well served and directed. I find that it's a perennial problem. Somebody becomes expert at Krishna consciousness, and then they want to become independent and go somewhere else, do their own thing. Once, one of my godbrothers, we were talking about another godbrother who had left the greater society of devotees for one misunderstanding or another to start his own kind of branch. And my godbrother said he's really such a bright person and a well-accomplished devotee. If he wasn't such a ball hog, he could he could do a lot more. I didn't play basketball, and the person that comes down the court every time never passes it and always wants to shoot it is a ball hog. So, you know, when we're working together as one society, there's a sense that don't be a ball hog, pass it off. You know, yeah, maybe you could hit the shot from outside, but come on, you know, pass it around. Let other people have an opportunity also. People win with teamwork. And that's what's pleasing to Krishna also. So let's take a few more reflections. Avantika, what did you think of the presentation? What things came into your mind when you were watching?
Hare Krishna, I thought the presentation itself was made super nicely. Like the slides looked really great. So that was really nice of Anshu to make. I also really liked the 7 purposes, and especially the last one, like you mentioned, where it said with the view of achieving all the other ones. And I thought that was really nice of Prabhupada to think of.
Thank you very much. Anshu, what was it like putting together these slides? How do you do that?
I think making slides is very nice because I learned so much more when I'm doing the slides and doing all the research. Because I'm going through looking at all these purposes, I learned so much by doing them. Yeah.
So how do you do it? What's the methodology?
Oh, or
step 1, step 2, step 3?
Or I was told to make it on the 7 purposes of Iskcon. So then I went to the Iskcon GBC and saw what those 7 purposes were. I just made one slide for each purpose and put pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, that you're really holding out on us here as far as describing the process.
I just took the verbatim whatever the purpose was, and then I put it on a slide, and all the details are very intricate, but basically just finding high resolution images and putting it as the background. Yeah.
Okay. I could see it's a secret thing. You don't want to tell us all the steps. I'm just kidding with you, Anshu. You did a great job. And the only downside for you is now that the word's out, you may never have a moment of peace. So let's hear a few more. I really want to hear from you what any of the points that came out that you're taking away from you, especially those that lifted you up, that you felt, oh yeah, this gives me more insight. I want to do more. I want to be a better devotee. I want to help the movement. What did you hear?
I really liked the part that said that book distribution, as Malini just mentioned. Book distribution encompasses all the other 7 purposes. So that made me feel super happy.
Yeah, actually, it didn't say it compresses all of them, but it did say that you achieve the aforementioned. You know, it's active. It's a very interesting point that you can achieve the aforementioned. So why don't you comment about, I know it's nice because we're oriented towards book distribution, but some other communities, leaders might say, oh yeah, you guys just all you do is book distribution. And of course you like that one because, you're brainwashed. But how would you say practically that, how would you say practically that we are achieving? Give one incident, give one way in which we are achieving the aforementioned purposes. Name an aforementioned purpose and tell how we are achieving any of those through doing book distribution. Anyone? Go ahead, Sukeshri, you start. Make your case.
There are several instances, but one specific one I was just thinking that Sirisha was my neighbor in the apartment, and she was expecting. So I told her we will read Bhagavad-Gita, and it's very good for the baby. So then she started reading Bhagavad-Gita, and then she loves to cook. So I said, maybe you can do a little service in the temple. And then she started, then I said that, you have to at least chant one round to start cooking for Radha Madan Mohan. And then she started chanting one round, and then she started chanting 16. So I was just thinking it all started with reading Bhagavad-Gita for the baby. I mean, she's been my neighbor for quite some time by then, but I think that kind of fanned the whole thing. And I think there are several instances like that. I'm sure many devotees would say.
Yeah, and the point is that the book distribution is the tip of the spear, right? Because you had that on your mind and you felt that gave you permission to, say to her, hey, here's the way to go. Because that's the mood of book distribution. It's like, get out there, tell them, make sure they take it. We get used to that kind of thing. And of course now, from that, Shrisha has become instrumental in hundreds of people taking to Krishna consciousness because she's all taken it up. So that goes to the word propagating. It means to breed, to increase the numbers. So you talk to her and now she talks to thousands of people with such enthusiasm, right?
Yes.
Nice one. Nice example. Does somebody have another example, a slightly different one that you can say? Shraddha, go ahead.
Yeah, so Maharaj, two things. The one I was thinking was about bringing people together as a family. And I was just marveling that how the weekend warriors, they actually they come across as a family, and especially when we see that, those who are even not participating in book distribution, they are back at home and they are cooking food and nice muffins and they keep showing all these nice pictures. And so it's really like, how in a family, the mother cooks, the father goes out and works. It really comes across as a family, and especially in these days of the coronavirus where we have, no other association, even, like we had a team meeting last Thursday and it really felt like a family. And
yeah,
and that, yeah, Maharaj, sorry, you were saying something?
I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So that day I was in back-to-back meetings right from 6 o'clock, and I knew that my last meeting will end at about 12:30 in the midnight, and I didn't have a chance to eat. But when I went to this meeting, I just said, I feel I use the words, I feel that I'm among friends and I can eat during a meeting like that. So that was one thing. And the second thought was that, when that's about the seventh purpose, fulfilling the other purposes, I was reminded of the verse, Yatha Taror Moon Initiatinena. That we always say that if you worship Krishna, then the rest of the demigods will be satisfied. So similarly here, like if you do distribution, other purposes are taken care of like that.
Nice. Nicely done. I just want to, I know there was two more that wanted to jump in, but I want to address Sri Madhava Mahotsava Prabhu because he wrote out his question. He says, on the point of cooperation, sometimes it appears that a leader's priorities seem to be business or temple worship over Sankirtan, which far less attended or participated in. Does cooperation mean following the leader or following what appears to be Srila Prabhupada's vision, like book distribution? Well, this is the issue that comes up in every one of and any kind of organization or corporation. There's an X and Y axis. And on the vertical axis, there's the overarching purpose of the organization. And then on the Y axis, there's a series of various departments. And each one of them is aligned under the umbrella of the organization. And each one of the individual departments within has the duty to stay aligned with that. And it's possible from each department then to become more prominent or think that they're more prominent and more important. And this in business lingo is called bounded rationality. And so it's always a balancing act and reshuffling. I mean, one way to look at it in a positive way is is to look at the organization and see how they do overall with each one of the purposes. And for instance, if you're in a place that also has infrastructure to maintain and other projects going on simultaneous to book distribution, how do those ultimately, you can analyze how they ultimately assist book distribution. In other words, they might keep a lot of people in one place so that they can cooperate together and do book distribution and so forth. You said sometimes it appears that leaders' priorities seem to be business or temple worship over Sankirtan. A lot of it is subjective, and I know that from. It's one thing to be a Sankirtan devotee, which I've aspired to be over the years, and then also when you take a leadership position, then you find out that there's a lot of other stuff that you have to attend to at the same time, and that tends to change the vision. It's a balance. There has to be balance, and oftentimes things are moving one direction or another. That's what balance means. But always coming back to the center is important. I don't think I gave you a very satisfactory answer, but perhaps I can be more detailed at another time. Okay, we'll take one more question or reflection. Yes.
I had just a clarification. So there are two clarifications I wanted. First was the seventh purpose. It says that the periodically distribute books. So it just means Srila Prabhupada's book, or also the next generation or like the future generation, there will be new books will be generated, and that also includes in that seventh purpose.
As my feeling, which I wrote about in our family business in the last chapter, I wrote specifically about this. Do you remember that?
Yes.
This is just my realization, but it's that Srila Prabhupada's voice, which comes through his books, is the foundational vibration of Iskcon. The way he thinks, the way he has packaged Krishna consciousness, the way he has synthesized the teachings of the acharyas is the essential vibration of Iskcon. And therefore his books are essential. And knowing them, imbibing them, reading all of them, and understanding his mood is essential. And this is, for one who reads Prabhupada's books and understands them, it's then very natural to adopt his value system and his mood. And then if there are other books that help one to bring people into that vibration, those can also be very important. And after all, Prabhupada asked his followers, his disciples, to write. As an example, when Swarup Damodar Maharaj wrote his book about science, it was just a small book, but Prabhupada showed it off everywhere and was beamingly pleased with him writing that book and encouraged others to write as well. And it's in the mood of explicating particular points that Prabhupada makes in his books and then making them available to people. So I've been having this conversation recently with Vijay Prabhu, because he called me recently and said, previously as the book distribution minister, he had set a quota for how many BBT books as a ratio to other kinds of books that book distributors should do. But now that more authors are writing within the BBT itself, we had to revisit that. And he was saying, so should there be also a sense of quota that making Prabhupada's books prominent, not just saying BBT books, because there could be other authors as well within the BBT. And at least my realization was that to some degree there should. I mean, it's a little artificial because people are interested in distributing what they want to distribute, but at the same time, we can't lose in my opinion, track of the fact that Prabhupada's books are the foundational vibration of our movement. So we have to keep that in mind as well. I hope that helps.
Yes, definitely, Guru Maharaj. And the second question I had around the same thing, that one thing is that you can just keep the book distribution as the focus. Another thing is that whatever you develop, like you are giving the example of Hungarian Farm or any other community, and each project has the book distribution also included. So what is the better understanding, that only the book distribution is everything, or like you include whatever project you do in your community, do you include book distribution as a part of that?
The second thing you said. That's my vision. I think that, some of the best book distribution is done when, for instance, people come to Krishna Volgi and they want to visit the farm and they want to see cows and they want to see people living off the land, because the devotees there live off the grid. And then they go there and they get this holistic experience, and then they say, I want to read about this. What motivates you people? That's a very powerful way to distribute books. And the two things go together like hand in glove, or as Keshav Bharti Maharaj says, as peas and carrots. Apparently they go together. So we should, I think that, just like those things, you get a packet of something that says just add water. There's certain things you get in a package that says just add water. So all these other things is just add book distribution. And then they become very powerfully manifested. So I feel that we should have all these other projects, but all of them should exist to support the others at the same time. What I mentioned about bounded rationality is, I can get into Varnashrama and then just say the heck with everything else. Or I can get into book distribution and say the heck with everybody and everything else also, because this is the only thing. But cooperation and broad-mindedness, which these 7 purposes together, that's not just one, they're all together to achieve the aforementioned purposes. They have to be synergistically executed. So when you think of them all together and you rejoice in all the projects and appreciate all of them together, then you have the kind of mix that Prabhupada was looking for. He was very eager to have all kinds of projects. He was interested in everything that would extend Krishna consciousness and get it into the fabric of the world. But he acknowledged that these books are basic to that whole process, because if we don't have them, first of all, we don't have a leg to stand on without the Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just a sentimental idea of spirituality, but we're standing on Bhagavad-Gita, and Prabhupada said, Bhagavad-Gita as it is, you have to preach what Krishna said, otherwise you're useless. You're not in the parampara, and you have no effectiveness at all if you deviate from that. But you have to do it in such a way that people can digest it, and so you have to be smart about it. And also, you have to show them how to live, because what we're finding now, we go out on the internet, we put out videos and stuff. So, recently, like a year and a half ago, I started, Jai Madhava Prabhu was helping me make all these videos. And then one of them, we boosted up a little bit, because you can boost them. And then it went out to over 100,000 people. And then a bunch of people came calling, say, okay, we're here. What do we do now? And we said, I don't know, watch another video. And they just left. So then, we were thinking about it. There has to be an infrastructure for them when they come. Like, what do we do now? There has to be systematic practice for them to come to, and a place for them to congregate, a place for them to get socialized. This is all in the purposes. So yeah, you can go out and distribute books, and you know me. As far as I'm concerned, that's fine because it's so important. The Shastras are so potent. But Prabhupada's vision is that they all go together. And you don't separate one from the other. They all go together. So Mukharavinda, very bright and evocative, important questions. Thank you for your finely tuned spiritual intelligence to bring those things up. Okay, so Anshu, you're getting a lot of accolades here. Don't let this go to your heads, son. Very nice slides, Anshu, especially the slide of TOVP. It is really well done. And it represents this emergence of the powerful young Vaishnavas that we have in our midst. They're coming of their own in developing projects, making strategic plans, showing their skills here and there. We know some of you can build robots and score 185 on what is that called, that test? The to get into college?
SAT.
Yeah, SAT and stuff like that. And now we're starting to see how you can actually take responsibility for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. And that's, to me, the most heartening of all the things that I could see. And I know Prabhupada would feel, Prabhupada expressed that many, many times about how important it was to have this succession coming up. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody, for a morning full of joyful chanting of the holy names, discussion of Prabhupada's 7 purposes, and JM is here to give us a station identification.
Yeah, I just, Hare Krishna, I just wanted to see if we can briefly give an update on Bhakti community.
Please.
Thank you so much. I will share my screen. Please let me know if you are able to see this.
And look, there were the 2 directors of the Bhakti community right there. We got a glimpse of them.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, please go.
Haribol, everyone. Thank you.
Haribol.
Haribol. We want to quickly just show you all the new programs that we have launched recently on the Bhakti community. This is dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. These are all the programs at a glance. Mondays we are doing we started in April actually, so it's almost 4 months now. We are doing Bhagavad-Gita regularly for half an hour at 6:30. Tuesdays, we started a new program. We have had 1 class of this program by Navina Nirada Prabhu and very, very successful. That is called Bhakti Wisdom. We are mainly taking stories from Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, and scriptures like that. Thursdays, we are doing Sadhana On, where we focus mainly on different aspects of sadhana, where Vaisesika Prabhu is taking this class as well as the Monday class. Spiritual fitness is more focused on the corporate audience, and on the Zoom, normally the corporate folks from Google, Salesforce, Intel, and so on and so forth. Those people join, but it is available for everyone to watch on Facebook. We are starting a new series for Discover Yourself. It is the program that we normally run in our temple, but a little bit more customized for the Western audience. Mantra music is starting from tomorrow, where right now Madhuri Prabhu is going to be the person who will be leading this program for us. And we have various courses lined up online, which you can just go and read at your own pace. Quickly showing Bhakti Wisdom, we have actually handpicked a lot of devotees to lead these programs, and we have staggered them across various weeks. And we will be adding more speakers to this. So all these esteemed devotees have agreed to be part of the program. And next class is going to happen from Shankaranand Prabhu. He's a very beloved preacher, and everybody loves his classes. Navin Nirada Prabhu just finished this. So this was a class given by Navin Nirada Prabhu where he focused on art of giving and was based on Bali Maharaj's story.
And it was very well received. The audiences, they really loved how he made it simple and relevant examples, practical examples. The audience really loved the program.
Yeah.
We can't hear anything that JM is saying. We can only hear you, Pavani.
Okay, now just mentioning that audience loved Navin Nirada Prabhu's class, where he simplified all the shastras in a simple way in relevant context for them. So there was a very good feedback from the audiences.
And then upcoming next week, Tuesday, is based on Dhruva Maharaj's story, Ordinary People with Extraordinary Determination. This will be done by Shankaranand Prabhu. Upcoming next after that is Lessons from Hanuman by Navin Nirada Prabhu. So we have, where is the slide? all the programs. We have a list of programs and list of speakers lined up, and these are the various topics we are discussing: conquering fear, hard decisions in life is between two good choices. So everything is based on Bhagavatam stories and various other stories, power of association and things like that. So just to give you a high level view. The next program where we really want to start this, our dear devotees, His Grace Govind Charan Prabhu and Shankaranand Prabhu have agreed to lead this, but we need sign-ups in order for these programs to start. At least a minimum of 10 people who will be committed for 10 to 15 weeks to come to these programs. Next one is Srimad Bhagavatam reading again. We give books to so many people in the world. We want them to have a community where they can come and read together. So this is another thing that we want to start, where people can come together and read together, and we will have esteemed devotees like we had in the Bhakti Wisdom slide, who can come and do question answer and read together with them. So that's one more program. Mantra music starting tomorrow by our own Madhuripura Prabhu. We are also planning book series from famous authors who have written books within Iskcon. We are talking to a few authors, and based on their books, we are going to start series where they will talk about and take us to the course of their book via a series. We are also talking to famous people who will do science series with us based on spiritual knowledge, of course. So what we really need is help, all your help to spread the word here, to have more people come to the community. This is a subscription that you do one time and you get everything free after that. You just decide that what you want to pay once every month, and you just go month by month. It can be as small as $100,000 or any amount you choose, or as any amount you choose. There are many people who've signed up for $1 and they are thinking of increasing their amount because we are offering a lot of programs. So we want to highly encourage, especially all the book distributors, to spread this word. We have some templates and emails that you can use to spread the word, and Prabhu will just talk about those.
Yeah, sorry, I'll just quickly go through the template. So thanks, Pavani, for the overview. Now, as you know, Bhakti Community is a website where if you go to website, we'll see all the details. And whenever you distribute a book, please extend them the information about Bhakti Community. So you can visit a URL, which is very straightforward, Bhakti Community /invite newcomers. So if you can see Bhakti Community /invite newcomers, if you go to this URL, then you will see a template email available, which you can use as a reference to send to your newcomers, introducing Bhakti Community, the programs, some of the videos, and then how they can sign up on Bhakti Community to avail the program. Also, how to sign up some of the new programs like Discover Yourself or Srimad Bhagavatam reading, how to sign up for those. So those links are available, and you can copy paste this content as it is and send it. And I just want to quickly show a sample of one of our own congregation member, Ramakrishna Veeravali. I really want to thank him. So he recently sent this welcome email after he distributed books to a couple of the members that he distributed to, giving the overview of Bhakti Community, some of the links, and then sign up information. So looking forward to those people signing up. We already have close to 100 people in the community, and we are getting very, very positive feedback from both Westerners as well as Indian people, how much helpful this has been in them and inculcating a spiritual practice as well as knowledge. We have the spiritual fitness challenge, which is also well received. So this will help a lot in making sure when they receive books, they have a platform or community to go to so that they can encourage each other and they can keep making progress. As they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you need to find association and go together. And this is that association, so that those people who have got books, they can go far and not just, after taking the book, then they drop off kind of. So we just want to quickly give an update. And also one request, we do have the Bhakti Community Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Bhakti Community. So please go there and do like the page as well as follow the page so that you can keep updated with all the content that we post. We have a very small team of kids who are very
diligently every week. They are creating clips out, beautiful clips, very, very impactful, insightful clips on a weekly basis. 3 to 4 clips are getting created, which are stored here, which can easily be shared, and people will relish the wisdom which is being passed on to those clips. So as and when those clips are posted, I strongly encourage you to please share it on your timeline with your friends and families, so the news spreads further. And another request is, when you go to this page, please do invite all your members as well to come and like this page, all the families and friends that you have. So this way, this can keep going further. So I just want to quickly want to give an overview. And if there are any questions or comments, of course, more than happy to answer them as well.
I have a comment. When I was calling people the other day on a list of devotees who already got Bhagavatams, I called one man and he said his wife he had bought the set of Bhagavatams for his wife. He said, I'm not interested in these things, but I bought her a set of Bhagavatams. And I said, how does she like it? He said, she never took it out of the box. So I think that when these are joined together, these, reading programs and coming on to the Bhakti community, people really wake up and they'll be able to take the book out of the box. It's really what completes the whole process. So these two things go together, and they're inseparable. We really have to make them both one thing. Distribute the books, and book distributors are really smart because Krishna is in their ear telling them what to say. And you can always figure out a bridge, a way to if you can figure out how to sell somebody a Bhagavatam set, you can figure out how to also get them to join the Bhakti community. And I think it's proven now that this is extremely important for us to grow and to be able to do bigger. So let go of any hesitation to go in, like, share, and figure out how to bring more people in and make it a part of the value system, that the more people we get into the Bhakti community, the better we're doing as ISV. If we want to stay on top of the world as far as our expansion goes and manifest the kind of vision that we want to see in the Bay Area, it's going to require this base of really powerful connection through the internet. Om Tat Sat.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. This is Krishna Purushottam Das. Dandot Pranam, Vaisesika Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, just want to let you know one testimonial. I think maybe 6-7 years ago, we went to Union City and distributed a Bhagavad-Gita to my colleague. I don't know, he's my colleague also at that time. So recently I was talking to him and I started my camera, and first meeting he didn't say anything, like, he just casual talk, my office talk. And next, I think 2 weeks after, he set up a meeting with me and he said that I want to talk to you personally. Then I said, yeah, something wrong. I don't know. So then first 20 minutes, Prabhu, he was talking about that, yeah, you came my home. I don't know, my mind is not working. You gave Bhagavad-Gita to me. And so he was so happy that, can you connect me to some spiritual group so that I can start my journey. So I told him, did you read the Gita? I said, no, from 4 days I'm reading Bhagavad-Gita, from past 4 days. Then he said that I want to connect. Then I immediately sent the link via email to him, Prabhu, the bhakti.community. He just checked it in and then he want to enroll, but he was doing the trial on the Facebook, and he really impressed Prabhu. So thank you so much for putting together this series. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Nice testimonial. That's a real life experience.
Yes.
And the more we are aware of it, the more we can close the gap too. They don't have to be 7 years. Of course, people have to be ready, obviously, but
yes,
we can be really instrumental, right, SKP?
Yes, Prabhu. We used to give the book packs, Prabhu. Do you remember? We have a sticker.
Yeah, and sticker.
Yeah. So he's now really, I think he will start, Prabhu. He works in Genentech. So
fantastic.
Thank you, Prabhu. Jayam Prabhu, for all your hard work. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Is Mukharvindas?
Hare Krishna, Mukharvinda, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, JM Prabhu and Pavani Bhakti Mataji. It's really exciting program. I myself, whenever I get time, I try to join so that it makes more easy for me to welcome people if I'm acquainted with what is the program going on. And one quick question I had, like you mentioned few companies' name in the Friday corporate programs. Is there if suppose my company is not listed in that list of the companies that you mentioned, what is the way that I can connect, or like is there any way that I can start in my company also these programs or something? If you can kindly guide me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for bringing that up. And it's a very good avenue that we have. Recently, Kautukarno Prabhu, he reached out asking, can he introduce the spiritual fitness to Cisco, so that even some of the, like they have a group there which regularly meets together. And both Kautukarno Prabhu and I forget, Namswaran Prabhu, both of them, then they reached out, they got enrolled. So now even Cisco members are joining spiritual fitness. And very soon, like we have built this platform now where all these programs are getting conducted. We are creating the promotional clips on a weekly basis, and we are marketing them. We are posting them to more than 20 groups, where more than close to 1 million people are part of those groups. So hopefully some of them also get encouraged and join, and we are trying to increase more and more. We are also sending weekly newsletter to all the members who have joined. Sandeep Prabhu has kindly, every week he sends a summary of that. So all the base is set up now. So now we are ready to invite more and more corporates. If you want, anyone has a company who their members would benefit, given everyone is in lockdown now. Like there are a lot of mental stress and challenges going on. So please write an email to hi@bhakticommunity.com. And please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to jump on a call, walk you through the process and how we can engage more and more people. So yeah, please write an email to hi@bhakticommunity.com, and we can take it from there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, thank you for bringing this wonderful question.
Prabhu, I had a question. I was wondering that would you all go and do course or anything in any department? Like for example, our Department of Education, the Santa Clara County, has a vitality program where they have a physical and mental fitness programs, and they actually pay for it. So Sundaranand Prabhu came, I think, last year, and we did a program. And so I was just wondering that, is that a possibility also? Like where would you would go and do a weekly or monthly, whatever the program would be?
Wonderful. Thanks, Mataji. Thanks for bringing up. If you have such opportunities, definitely we will be more than happy to explore that avenue and see how we can expand and grow. We can discuss that and come up with some program or format that would work for the respective community. And of course, we can extend this Bhakti community to them as well. So yeah, I'll reach out to you after this call, and we can take. Thanks, but thanks for exploring more opportunities, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you both. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Radha Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, I just wanted to highlight, especially the corporate program, which actually, it's now all merged together. I think it's so nicely done. I mean, I'm just seeing like the regular attendance, about like 90 people from across, and it seems they're regular one now. They're all like glued together. They cannot leave even after 45 minutes. The session is over now, extended for 1 hour and 15 minutes. I think that is, and especially the audience is like, perfect mix of that. It's not, purely from individual community. I mean, even being in that program, looking at all the faces makes me feel I just wanted to be part of this community. It's so special, so special. So just wanted to thank you. I think Maharaj has kept it so blended in a perfect fashion, to just leave it at such a low level so that, people shouldn't get bombarded with, a deeper philosophy, but give that the taste a little bit so that they go to the next level. I feel like so, I don't have any word to express it, Maharaj. Thank you for that program. This is amazing.
Well said, Radha Prabhu. Actually, I want to add, many of they participate actually not are from Bay Area. Many are they're actually from all over the USA. So that definitely that's something that that is an advantage I found, that corporate we have in different center all over the USA and actually all over the world. to that matter.
Yeah, and thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for your enthusiastic participation as well and all the feedback that you provide. I agree with you completely that the program, which is so tailor-made for Western audiences, is so simple. The sort of feedbacks I'm getting, just yesterday, one of the members reached out. He wants to extend. He liked this so much. This is so practical. I get so much tips of how to lead my life. He wants, can I share it? Is it okay if I share it with my family? Like he wants to say. So I said, please go ahead. I mean, Haribol. I mean, I didn't say Haribol, of course. But I was very happy to see that now they are relishing it so much. They want to share with their family members. And if they also start coming on, it will be awesome. And I do want to take this moment and thank Sadhana Mataji, Ananga Gopika Mataji, and Mukharunda Prabhu. It's because of their endeavor that more and more intel people are joining. Like they're really working very hard. In addition to, of course, our own Manjari Gopika Mataji and Balmukanda Prabhu and of course Sundaranand Prabhu. We all are working together and making sure this expands more and more. And I'm very happy to have, of course, you also on the board and passing feedback and propagating. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for that.
You know what it reminds me? I wrote a little piece a long time ago because I saw this I saw an advertisement in the Bangkok airport about this footballer who was an overnight success after 17 years. And I remember ISV started with just like 2 or 3 people coming to classes, and we just kept doing it, and then it just grew. And I feel that with these inroads that we're making into the internet, getting it more and more organized, few people come, and then it starts to expand and more. And I read a book about how religious movements spread, and it's mostly by word of mouth from people who are really happy with it. And then they feel a comfortable environment where they want to expose other people to it too. That's why they grow fast, is because somebody comes and they have an experience that they can't deny. And then they say, I want my family to have this. And they tell their friends, and then their friends tell friends. So what we're doing right now is building a pipeline through which all the 7 purposes can be more readily manifested to the world. That's what this is. And as we've said from the very beginning, and we have the tapes to prove it, this pandemic was specifically given to us as a gift by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just so we could focus our energy here to get us to the next level, because that's our ambition. That's where we want to be, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, fantastic, stellar, unbelievable, fantastic service and cooperation with everybody. So let's take it up another notch, everybody. Please put a little extra effort into the Bhakti community as we're doing everything, including book distribution. It's got to be integrated. We want to see this grow, and it's building the pipeline. That's what we're doing now. We want the pipeline to get bigger and bigger. Avantika is ready for the Guru Puja. Let's go. About to put her on her headset, I could tell. Thank you. Bravo. We'll have the announcements for Sankirtan right after Guru Puja. I hope you'll all still be here. Switching to Jamulus. Hare Krishna. Namashrestam Nanamapi Shachiputram Atra Sarupam Shri Rupam Tasya Grajam Urupariyam Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratitya Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Hey Guru Gyanada Dinabando Sunanda Data Karunaika Sindhu Vrindavana Sinahita Vata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara. Somebody running the slides, or do we have a shortage?
I'll put up.
All I saw was the first slide. I didn't see the shlokas. Did I miss something? It just says Sri Guru Vandanam. Next one. Next. He Dinabandho Koronaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Mayamandamudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahu Papagadhe Tatpada Padmes Tishra Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radhakund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. With your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachments to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Shadma Ha Prabhu Kora Doya Deha More Pada Chaya. Vijash Kushik Tribhuvana. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishatharine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaur Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Shri Harinam Mantra ki Jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki Jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shishiman Hapai Charanada Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Shishiman Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prames Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shyamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki. Sri Vrindavan Nam Ki. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki. Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So Malini, or SKP, or Malini and SKP, as the case may be, could you tell us, we need to be reoriented about Sankirtan, because the world's a strange place right now. And we just came off having one of the most successful of marathons in the history of our organization here, which has been a winning organization. We've had one winning season after another. And we'd like to continue that through the end of the year. We would like to make a demonstration to Lord Chaitanya that we have no intention of letting off even one tiny little bit as far as expanding our outreach for book distribution, the numbers, the quantity, and the quality. And how are we going to do that now? Are we regrouping energy going to the last part of the year for something special? I mean, what's happening? Tell us where we're at, honestly, and where we need to be.
SKV Prabhu, please go ahead, Prabhu.
No, you start, Mataji. I'll go after.
Prabhu, our next major plan is for Bhadra Purnima. And we are actually going to reach out to the devotees, like we mentioned last time, to do big, to distribute lots of Bhagavatam sets for Bhadra Purnima. And we have set a goal also individually for ISV as well, to meet or to be in line with the 10,000 book Bhagavatam sets goal that you have for overall North America, for overall all over the world. And we will be doing that, and we're continuing with our cowling parties this afternoon, 2 o'clock. And as soon as the Janmāṣṭamī festival is over, we are going to reach out to devotees individually, because the devotees have been reached out for other purposes and services for Janmāṣṭamī. So as soon as Janmāṣṭamī is over, we'll reach out to the devotees for the. Sorry. Yeah. SKV Prabhu, yes, Prabhu?
Just a question for the both of you. Do we have a way of getting more contacts for during the Janmāṣṭamī? Have we thought of any ways that we're going to actually, this is going to lead us to more leads?
Well, that's an excellent point, Prabhu. We are doing online, Prabhu. We can check with Gandharvika Mataji. We can get more leads for this time. Usually what we do, Prabhu, for Janmāṣṭamī, new visitors comes, we sign up on the signboard, the booth there, and they get those contacts. And this year, maybe we need to have that infrastructure, Prabhu, so to get the.
Okay, yeah, talk to Hansapriya and everybody.
Okay.
Just to see,
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
In any case, I had a question: is how are the calling parties going? Should devotees expect to be as well accommodated as before to come in and do their work and service for an hour, 2 hours, and feel like everything's smooth, like things are provided so they can go down and get busy?
So I think the one thing which we tried worked very well, Prabhu. Like last week, we had for example, Tadiseva Prabhu had a contact in Laguna Beach. So he asked, I cannot talk to them about glories of Bhagavatam, but you can join the call. And we did a 3-way call, Prabhu. Myself, Tadiseva Prabhu, and she's a Kannadiga, so I know a little bit few Kannada words. So, and then we had a 3-way call, and then the deal is closed, Prabhu. She took Bhagavatam. So we need like that, Prabhu, from our devotees. So if they cannot talk, they can give a reference. So myself, Malli Mata, anybody can talk to them.
That's very wise, I think. I just reminded me when I worked at the San Francisco airport. I was there for 13 years, and we were working under a permit. And there were rules in the permit, and one of them was no double teaming. Because they noticed when Banabhata and I worked on one person together, they always took a book. So they figured it was an unfair advantage. So now we have no permit as far as that goes.
Yes.
But I like the idea of this is a good way, a 3-way call, 2 against 1.
Yeah, he knows them and the initial connection. After that, he'll introduce me in the call. So in that way, we want to do more like that, Prabhu. So going forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and also for Bhadra Purnima, Prabhu, I think all devotees in the call, Vaisesika Prabhu in Tirupati, in front of devotees, we had a pledge of 10,000 Bhagavatam sets. So on all the temple around the world looking at ISV, so we have to do big, Prabhu, for Bhadra Purnima. So expand our networks all over the world. Do it in India and all the places. So that's a request. So devotees can help us to get the referral for Bhagavatam sets. So.
Referrals, that's what we want. Anyone you can think of, or any way we could break into more networks, that's very much needed right now.
Right. Yes. And also you mentioned the testimonials, Prabhu. like we are working to get a testimonials on our Bhadra page. So the more from the leaders we get, the more like other communities, like other Vaishnava communities, so we can
Okay.
Funnel to their networks.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So.
Any last things?
So we have offering coming up on Wednesday. So I request devotees can report the scores by tomorrow, and we can compile it for the MSF offering.
Molly, last words?
We're also requesting, we'll send out an email after Janmāṣṭamī, but the one that SKP Prabhu just mentioned about teaming up, we are requesting referrals or contacts from the congregation members so that we can call them and we can request them to take a Bhagavatam set. So that will be coming up soon, Prabhu, after Janmāṣṭamī.
You should make a new category of points, that referral points. So every referral that you give, you get an extra point on your team.
Yeah.
If it leads to a Bhagavatam set, then you get 5 whole points. And we'll see which teams can bring in the most referrals.
Yes, Prabhu, we can have points for the teams this time. And then we can see which team will win.
Referral points are big.
Points, yes.
And there should be, we give some special prasad for those who get the most referral points.
So if anybody gives 100, I'll do Go Puja.
Go Puja for anybody who does.
100 referrals.
We'll find some special gifts.
Yes.
For referral points.
Yes.
So all you got to do is just hand over your people.
Yes.
We'll take care of it from then.
Yes.
Don't worry, they're in good hands. Okay.
That's all, Prabhuji, for now.
Okay. We'll go back to Jamulus for the prasadam prayers.
We can't hear you, Maharaj.
Sharira vijaja jodendriya tahika jive pele vishaya sanore dharmati jivati loha Jake jeta gati samsare Krishna Bhagadoya Gauri Pare Shivaja Shamprasad Chetasu Yashu Buddhaya Vajasane Ayopa Buddha Shakanda Vasulankara Karchana Shukta Bojino Dasa Stavamayam Jayimahi Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasada Jai Gaura Premanande
Haribo
Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo Can everyone please unmute and say Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Rama.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Rama.
Premanande Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Do big, do big.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hari Bol. Thank you.
Thank you, Puja.
Hari Bol.